Yeah, that's what I just had to get my kid down and make her brush her teeth and everything, get ready for tomorrow because I don't want to deal with it. She actually doesn't usually go to sleep until about 10. So we got her in her room with the iPad right now. So hopefully she'll be no problem.
Yeah. What time does she wake up then? If she goes down, 10's late.
She's a party animal. Usually she'll be up around 7:30, something like that. So yeah. I mean, we're still at the point where we get her to school like 8:45. Like those days will be over soon, where she's got to be at school at 8, and it actually works bad for me because I work from home. I usually don't even start my day until I get back, which is like 9:15, 9:30 some days. And then, now I have to figure out how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Getting to work a little early, I guess. Well, I guess you get end a little later, depending on how that works out. Yeah.
When you work from home, you're always working, it seems like. So,
yep.
I put my phone on silent.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Oh, we got some audio now, buddy.
This is gonna be weird.
We got your handprint as well.
Yeah.
You on your phone? Did you figure it out?
Yeah, just on my phone. Had to do the authentication and get on and all that crap.
Cool. Well, you're making me dizzy, so find a good place to put that phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to close down the rest of this. Hold on.
It's all good.
Never close that. Need one of those stands on the what phone has a stand on it?
Oh yeah, one of those Android phones.
I was about to say, I was like, weren't those discontinued? Yeah, those were discontinued.
Is that the one that burns up? Yeah.
Can't take it on a plane? Yeah.
All right. I got to go get something to set this on.
All right, go for it. Get some books or something.
I just read somewhere online that, obviously for another Bourbon Pursuit podcast, but Four Roses is going to release like a 23-year-old or something like that for their 130th anniversary.
We've actually been talking about it on our private chat with Brian and the guys. So that all came from, oh shit, I got to send the link to Ryan. Hold on one second.
Sure.
I just realized I forgot to send it to him. He probably needs it. Go green. Okay. Yeah, so we've been talking about it. It's a rumor that first started from Owen Powell posted in the Louisville Bourbon Hounds group, basically saying that there's he said he was hounding Al Young about something, and Al was like, yeah, there'll be a 23-year-old bourbon for a 30th anniversary.
And then single barrel or a small batch?
Then Brian started saying that what's his name from Four Roses is already kind of refuting it. So
yeah, Dan Gardner was.
Dan, yeah.
He was being pretty, he was basically saying, well, unless Brent Elliott's lying to me, your source is wrong, is what he told him.
Hey, Blake.
Howdy, Blake.
Special
hey,
guest
Blake.
in tonight, I see. How's everyone doing? Brian, how's it going?
Good, thanks, man. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Trying to watch a little March Madness here.
Yeah.
He's
well,
not March Madness, but
SEC Madness.
One AA tournaments. Actually, those are usually more interesting than Charleston and Northeastern's going to overtime.
It was funny. So the Big Ten. So I went to Michigan State, and the Big Ten championship was last week, and then so that ended, and I was like, "All right, Selection Sunday, can't wait!" Then I was like, "What happened?"
Then you realize,
I realized they pushed it up a week, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah." They're going to basically have 2 weeks off for the majority of, or maybe more than that for teams that'll get in and weren't in the championship. I don't know why.
Yeah, weren't been thinking. Hey Ryan, how's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing, bud?
Good, thanks.
Hey, Ryan.
Man, this is going to get confusing. We got Ryan, and Brian.
I know.
That's yeah.
Everybody always thinks I say Brian anyways when I say it's Ryan. But I'm like, no,
Yeah,
it's
it gets
Ryan
to the
with an
point.
R.
Like sometimes people just call me Brian. I'm just like, that's fine.
Yeah.
I do too. I just roll with it.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
See,
sure.
mine's just the opposite. They think I say Ryan without the B.
Yeah.
Ordering something, they're like, Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What's up,
What's
Nick?
going on, fellas?
Real quick, Blake,
Hey,
did you post it in Bourboner, or can I post it real quick?
You know what? I think I start to. I don't think I posted it yet, so go ahead.
Okay.
That's all right. Delegation.
Ryan, we had our first pregnancy scare this morning. My wife woke up at 2 a.m. with contractions. And I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. So go to the hospital at like 4.
Oh,
They sent us home at like 10:30.
How many weeks is she?
She's
Long day.
32. 33.
Okay.
Yeah. April 10th is the 37-week mark, so whatever that makes her. But like,
Yeah, we had ours at 32, but she
Oh,
was in the
really?
hospital for like 5 weeks before that. But yeah,
well, luckily we don't have that 5 weeks, but I thought we were about to have him at 32, and I'm like, okay, well, we never put the car seats in the car.
right.
It's our put together.
Little details.
You'd think we never had kids before.
Oh, it's a whole nother
We don't even
ballgame.
have names picked out. That's
that happens for after number 1. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all downhill for everyone else.
like they survive. They survive.
Like,
They'll be good.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Good deal. So we got quorum. So if anybody that doesn't know, I think mostly everybody does. So we've got Ryan Lentz that's going to be joining us tonight. He's going to be taking Carrie's spot. So he runs.
Thank God.
Officially, or is this a vote?
It's what happens when you all don't show up. I'm going to go find reserves. That's how it works. So
I'm on the chopping block always.
no, it's all good. So we'll go ahead because I know we're already kind of past the starting point. So we'll go here and get started here in a second. Just to kind of let's see. So some things are happening in the chat already. So Sean says thoughts on straight from the barrel fiasco, the Louisville bourbon thing. So just to set the record straight, it is a private barrel. It is not a private pick. He just was able to find somebody that would sell him an entire barrel straight from the barrel, and it's all been shipped to Louisville. I've been seeing the pictures come up in the group. So it's nothing that is really a fiasco. He's just ended up buying a whole entire barrel. I know he put one on one of the forums, but that was to raise money for a charity. That's all I know. So,
Man, Lentz is going to replace me. That is a really cool setup behind him.
Yeah. Well, and it makes it easier because they don't even have to change the website. Just a picture said, "Hey, here with Kenny and Ryan again."
That's right.
exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be an easy swap.
Kenny's master plan.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll be good. All right, so we'll go ahead and kick it off. We'll start off with one topic I forgot to put in. We'll kind of kick it off just talking about the neat bourbon film real quick. Just quick thoughts, stuff like that. Ryan, be good.
Can I be honest?
You can be honest to a degree, but just be good. Okay.
Okay.
No, we want honesty.
God damn it.
Full-blown honesty. This is
Clap.
a round table.
Clap, Kenny.
I know. I gotta turn the fucking lights on. Goddamn home automation. All right.
The not so smart house.
Yeah, right. All right, here we go. Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast, the official podcast of bourbon. Tonight we have the 18th edition of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. It's always a crowd favorite. And tonight we've got a great lineup of questions that we have lined up for everybody. This is something that has been hot topics with inside of the bourbon world of the past few weeks. So I'm glad that we're going to have our variable pick of people here to talk about it. So Ryan, how's it going, man? We haven't had a recording here in a few weeks. So how you been?
I know. I got to get back in the groove. I'm excited for this one. We got the Ryan Bryan episode. A lot of
tongue twisters. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll introduce a new addition to the community roundtable. So Carrie is not going to be able to join us tonight. And this is what happens is that if somebody is not able to make it, we find some new blood to bring to it. So tonight we have Ryan Lentz. So Ryan, welcome, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, pull me out of the bullpen. I like it.
Yeah. So kind of give everybody an idea of where you blog at and topics you touch on and all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah. So I run a website called thebourbonbuddy.com, mostly reviews, but also do some chat, some bourbon banter talks, etc. Posted recently about OKI and their, new riff and OKI and that going away, and talking about how the transition is going to go to a 12-year stuff that you've talked about in Bourbon Pursuit. So I'm also on Instagram and at Bourbon Buddy _Buddy, and then at Twitter at Bourbon_Buddy1. I don't know who that Bourbon _Buddy is. That one that,
You're gonna buy him out at some point.
Yeah, I know, right? And then lastly, I'm also a member of the Cleveland Bourbon Club, and what's actually pretty cool is we're a group of 20 members, and we do blind tastings every month. And we just recently launched a website where we gave our results of these blind tastings. So it's pretty cool. I don't think anyone else or any other groups are doing something like that, where you're getting a group of 20 people and doing blinds and collecting the results and posting them online. So yeah, I would recommend checking it out. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah. And as everybody, or as you kind of mentioned, that it was Ryan here that gave us the tip on everything of OKI that we had talked about, I believe, on the last roundtable. So that's us.
Ironically, when we started this Bourbon Pursuit, I did get Bourbon Buddy
wanted on it. Yeah.
So, we can talk after the show.
All right, I got some. I maybe have something back you might want. Great.
Good deal. So we'll start with Brian then next. So Brian, let's hear it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Excited to do it again. And so for those who haven't seen this, I'm Sippin' Corn. You can find me mostly on Twitter at Sippin' Corn, and the Google blog spot of Sippin' Corn, where you get some reviews and legal history. And I have to say, stay tuned in November for Bourbon Justice, the hotly anticipated new bourbon book.
We should probably figure out a way to insert
that's not written by Fred.
Yeah, I was
it's
about
not
to say,
written by Fred. Yeah,
yeah. We need to figure out a way to insert one of those Law and Order, boom, right after you get every time you get done talking. We'll figure out a way. We'll do it in post.
Excellent.
So Blake, you're up, buddy. And Blake
on me,
Reiber of Bourbon R.
Reiber.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can.
Okay. It was kind of fuzzy for a second. Just trying to make you work in the editing room. I am Blake from Bourboner.com. You can find me at Bourboner.com/blog. All the major social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. Yeah, check me out.
Awesome. And Nick, round it out.
And I am Nick, one of the three guys behind Breaking Bourbon. You can find us online at breakingbourbon.com and Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well at Breaking Bourbon. So glad to be here again, guys.
Awesome. So we got a lot of topics to hit on. I kind of want to touch on something too, because it was recent news. Honestly, it's kind of funny that of all times, it's right now in February and March that we actually have news to talk about, which is really odd. It's usually coming around the fall and the springtime, but there's actually been a lot of things that have been happening recently. The first one was the release of the new film called Neat. It was really focused on the bourbon or I should say the people that are out there that are really heavy into bourbon and want to know more from some of the voices behind it. Really focused a lot on Marion Barnes and Freddie Johnson of Buffalo Trace. They had some pretty big spotlights and cameos in there. I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts on the movie. I'll kind of go first. I liked it. It was a really cool way to picture how people are getting into bourbon. At sometimes, when I just think of the production value is really good. The editing I thought was a little weird. It was kind of like one of those 3-minute montages that lasted for 70 minutes because there was a lot of cutaways, a lot of pours, a lot of panning the rick houses. That was just okay, you got to keep it interesting. I get that, but there's a lot of overdub music and Like I said, it felt like
cuts.
Yeah, it felt like a 3-minute montage that lasted 70 minutes, but it was still really cool. A lot of great information that came from it too. So anybody else want to chime in on that?
I can go next. Like you said, the production value was outstanding. I mean, was very well shot. The footage was awesome. It was a little bit too, I guess, elementary for me. I was looking for something more, I guess like Bourbon geeks appeal to us more. It was kind of more, it seemed like geared towards people that know absolutely nothing about bourbon. And so it was kind of like going on a bourbon tour for like the 30th time for me. But it was very good production value. And I think it's good for people just getting into bourbon. But for me, I was kind of looking for more, I guess.
Yeah, I did put this in my post. I had one. If you actually, has the Wade Woodard post run or the Bourbon Pursuit episode run yet, where he gets questions?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well,
thanks for paying attention to our release calendar.
Yeah. There's a release calendar, but anyway, so I will make one note, which you'll probably touch on in that episode as well, as bourbon doesn't have to be made out of new American white oak, which is a common misconception. It just is oak, charred oak, new charred oak. So they did get that, but I thought it was really good. I thought it was a great way to get a lot of people excited about bourbon. And like everyone else said, the production value was really good. It was entertaining, as entertaining as a bourbon documentary can be. So I thought that was good. And it was like everywhere. I mean, I had people sending it to me who, I talked to about bourbon once and they never drank bourbon their entire life and would email it to me, say, hey, have you seen this? So it's cool to see, it get a lot of people into bourbon. And actually, I feel like it's just been in production forever. So just the fact that it actually made it, and I'm getting an email in like
that's true.
2015, and I'm sure we all get those emails of, "Hey, man, I'm working on this project. I know you're in bourbon. Do you want to write about it?" And to see one of them actually come to life and get a really good release, that was pretty cool to see. So
if you don't mind, I'd like to add, this is Ryan Lentz, the other Ryan. I thought it was great. It's absolutely mandatory that you drink a glass of bourbon while you're watching it. I mean, if you don't just drink water with that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I really like it. And instantly, like right after I watched it, it really like shows the the romance and the coolness of aged spirits and stuff. And I instantly after I stopped watching, I'm like, I gotta send this to my friends that are like kind of on the borderline. Like they come over and they drink some of my bourbon when they're there, but don't really understand it and really don't understand, all of the uniqueness that's around it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, I'd say I thought what was interesting was, I don't know if it's just the documentaries I'm kind of drawn to, but they all kind of seem to have an air of, uncovering some kind of conspiracy or, there's just something, that, is something you don't really know, or, they're trying to do this different take on something. I feel like what's cool about Neat was it was really just kind of an artistic, just, we're going to show you bourbon, what it's all about. I do think it was, certainly the person that didn't know anything about bourbon could take a lot away from it. The person who knew a lot already, I mean, I get that a lot of that stuff was kind of repeated, but I just think it really made you feel in touch with bourbon. And I mean, it made you want to go grab a glass of bourbon. And if you weren't a bourbon drinker to start, I think by the end of the movie, you're thinking, I want to give this a try, which is fantastically successful at that. And it's well received too. Everybody seems to like it so far, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's the first one that's really broken through. I mean, for I guess Kenny will know this, and Ryan, here we've got the public television KET that has probably 6 or 7 bourbon documentaries that they play every now and again, and they go back probably. I mean, one of them looks like it must be in the 80s. I mean, you've got Bill Samuels,
VHS, really like the
big bad glasses on, and women with bad 80s hair. So we were doing it back then, and this is the first one to get, I think, beyond the borders. I was involved in one probably 3 years ago called Straight Up Kentucky Bourbon, and it didn't launch really as anywhere near that Neat is launching, and it's really nice to see that it's getting this kind of reception. And I agree with what everyone said. It's probably a more basic level, but that's probably what's needed. I'll still stay tuned for the more nerdy, dorky one, but it's really good, and I'm really glad it's succeeding.
Yeah, I don't want to say I thought it was great. I really liked Bourbon Tucky, and I kind of was comparing it to that, and I think I lean more towards Bourbon Tucky was kind of more appealing to me. But they both are fantastic documentaries.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It had elementary pieces to it, but I also think bringing Steve Zahn in as a comedic relief was pretty good at times too, right? Where
I loved with the L8, when he's like, just pours it in, chugs it. That was pretty good.
So
it was nice to see him there.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of good chat that's going on about it, but I think this is something that we could always hit on because people are talking about. Did Marion get featured too much compared to anybody else? Because you think about some of the other big pundits out there, Chuck Cowdery, and everybody else that are very well known in the bourbon geek world, didn't really have any sort of any kind of scene in it, right? It was very much really focused on like 2 to 3 people, and it was really Marianne and Freddie Johnson. But they both told the story, I think, really, really well. So let's go ahead and we will move on to the next topic. And this was something that was, I guess if you're here in Louisville, you had the opportunity to get it. And it was a release for James Thompson and Brothers Final Reserve 45-year-old bourbon here in Louisville. So it was quote unquote 47-year-old. It was tanked for 2 years, but there were 250 bottles, 150 released to the public. It was $1,800 plus tax. People were actually camped out in the rain for it. And this is an $1,800 bottle. It's the oldest bourbon that's ever been released. The first few of them actually sold on the secondary market for upwards of $5,000. And then the reviews came out. And this is when people actually said, because the box in itself actually had the bottle, plus it had a tasting sampler, like a little 2-ounce thing next to it. And people started cracking those open. And people said it was terrible. And so now you kind of see everything's kind of flatlined in it. So what do you guys think? Because at this point, what's the unlikely or what's the likely future and outcome of this bourbon? Because it had high expectations of being the oldest bourbon ever released. And then it kind of peaked within the matter of just hours.
Well, let me jump in first. Who in their right mind thought this was going to be good?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, are they surprised that it sucked?
Yeah. I mean, you get a Elijah Craig 18 or something that's 23, and I mean, you're already chewing wood, and I like oak. I mean, I like it fine, but 45 years is going to do bad things to a bourbon.
Yeah. And where were they even aged? I didn't read all that much on it. So, because I mean, you think about, a lot of times they talk about the 23-year-old Van Winkle barrels. A lot of them won't have anything left, or they'll have 3 gallons left or something. So they took it another 22 years, and they, still had bourbon left over. I'm sure it was proof down and everything, but yeah, I'm with Brian. Anybody who thought it was going to be something tasty, you're just fooling yourself.
I think I read that it came out around 115 proof out of the barrel.
What did they bring it down to bottle? Do you know?
I don't know off memory. I didn't read too much about it either. I did read that they were tasting it. I don't know how long they've been tasting it. It seemed like for quite a while, actually, as it was getting up there in age. So it seems in a lot of ways that they were just trying to push the envelope on, what's the longest we can age this thing and still have it be drinkable, essentially. Because that's the novelty is really the age at the end of the day. That's the age, right. And the scarcity is going to cause everyone to want to say, what does that taste like? Because you can't just go out and find that.
There was a pretty funny quote in there by Catch 22. They said even the angels didn't want it.
Their new slogan.
Yeah.
Which it's like if you're going to spend $5,000 on the oldest bourbon ever released, fine, that's great. If you got $5,000, spend it. But if you're spending it because you think it's going to taste good, that's just stupid to me. Like, I actually don't have a problem with people wasting money if they understand what they're buying. But if they think they're going to like sip on it on a weeknight and enjoy it, no, it's basically.
Didn't one sell like for like $7,000 like that night or something on the secondary?
It might have, but at most probably only one, but nothing really. Like I said, there was a first few that went, but after that, it kind of flatlined. I kind of want to change the subject a little bit or kind of twist a little bit to Lentz. Kind of get your idea, like, where do you think that this is now that the reviews are out? Now, do you really think like this could possibly hold its value, grow in value? Because there's not going to be another one like it as far as I can see for quite some time.
Yeah, it's hard to age it that long. Yeah. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, and it was packaged this way, it's a collector's piece. I mean, you have the bottle and then they give you a little sample bottle. So that's just already going of, okay, they're going to collect and hold on to the bottle, but if they want a little taste, they can, keep that little side. But then my question would be, if you take a sip of that little sample, are you then decreasing the value of their overall package? You know what I mean? But yeah, I think it will it flooded the market. So right now it's kind of, people are seeing reviews and they're thinking it, but again, there's only how many packages, 250 or something like that?
Yeah. 150 went to public. I have no idea what they're going to do the other 100. I know there was a tasting that was done with Bill Thomas at Jack Rose and that night, and some people were invited. You paid like $100 a ticket to go and sample it. I didn't hear anybody that said good out of that either.
Yeah. Now, I think that right now the market's flooded and it's gone down a little bit, but it'll probably creep back up. It's a collector's piece, and people that collect will want that bottle.
The same people with that box behind you, the chessmen, probably said the same thing, way back in the day. That'll never sell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, what is it? It's there's poison in it because it's,
lead.
Yeah. The lead. Yeah. The lead. I've drank enough of it. I'm good still.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
He glows in the dark, but overall.
So what do you guys kind of see as because this is not done. There's actually more releases that are coming. They actually have plans for releasing a 43-year, also a 41-year bourbon. I guess they wanted to start off with a bang and just do their biggest one. Where do you guys kind of see, like, do you think like maybe this will end people camping out, or do you think people are just going to keep taking along and just buy it and try to flip it because it's easy money for some people?
Forgive me for the ignorance, but who the hell makes this? That like, where's this whiskey coming from?
It's like the Jack Rose family, whatever, right?
I have no idea. I didn't read any press releases for it. All I know, it says James Thompson and brother final reserve.
I believe that it's from Glenmore Distillery from way back in the day.
Yep.
Okay.
Which Glenmore became
Heaven Hill? No.
Was it?
No.
Yeah. This is where we look to you.
Yeah. I think it's Owensboro, Glenmore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of Sazerac's. They don't distill there, but storage, I think. I don't know.
We'll have to Google that one.
They went out of business, I thought.
Yeah, they definitely went out of business.
Did they bottle it at 115 proof? No, they don't have the proof on the front of the bottle from what I see, unless it's really small.
It's on the side of the bottle.
So that'd be interesting, though, something that old. Usually you have to proof them down to, around 90 to kind of deal with those, those oak flavors.
Well, and some magic filtering. I mean, it's some of like the older orphan barrels that you can tell have just had all the heart filtered out of them.
Huh. So the Thompson family maintained control until 1991. Guinness, Shinley, United went through that whole Sazerac purchased the Barton distillery. Hold on, is Glenmore Barton? Is that right?
No.
No, but that does.
Glenmore is a vodka.
That's where I was coming from.
It's now a bottling plant.
Yeah.
And then they started again in 2016 distilling rum. So it's under the Sazerac brand. So
right.
What's the Sazerac rums, like Sailor Jerry or something?
We all sound like experts right now.
Yeah. We're getting really into the weeds on this.
Yeah, really.
Claim to know everything.
But you
right.
gotta wonder though if having that sample bottle was
if it helped or hurt the value.
So I got it. Yeah, helped or hurt the value. Sorry, I got to add, and my browser just popped up and it's making tons of noise here. You got to wonder if that's going to hurt them for the future releases.
I mean, if you have people camping out, I doubt they're going to be sitting on a shelf 2 months from now, anyways. So,
well, yeah. I mean, you look at what Michner's did with Celebration. I mean, if they would have put a sample bottle on that, no one's going to buy it after the first couple of $5,000 go. And yeah, that's a risky move given that sample bottle.
It is.
Well, I think that's a little bit different. I think the Michter Celebration is a different animal than this, right? Like I think you can actually drink Michter Celebration. Like it's actually probably pretty tasty. Never tried it myself because I'm still waiting for my free bottle to come in the mail. But it's something that I'm sure that you're not going to be like, oh, spit this out. Like it's sour. You're not going to do it. It tastes like you're chewing on a toothpick or something.
Sure. I feel pretty strongly that it doesn't matter what it tastes like. It's some of the oldest bourbon, even the ones that are coming that are a little bit younger. It's limited edition in a very small quantity, and there's never been 40-year-old bourbons before. People will buy it, and it will increase value in the secondary market.
You think it'll increase over time?
Yeah. Well, like you said earlier, I mean, where's another 40-year-old bourbon going to pop up, right? I mean, who else
it'll definitely maintain for sure. I just don't see it dropping out. I think it maybe be closer to like one of the old Jim Beam Distiller Masterpiece bottles where there's very few of them out there, but they don't really skyrocket like Stitzel Weller stuff, but they just kind of maintain a strong value.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I think the key is too, people have to know about it. In 5 years from now, if people are new to it, even if they have money and interest, they don't really know what it is. I mean, just looking at that bottle, the front of the bottle, you wouldn't necessarily know what that is. You'd scan right by it. So it's not like a Pappy Van Winkle or something like that. Everyone knows the name. They want it. They don't know really what it is, but they want it. A lot of cases, this is, you kind of got to do a little research to figure out what it is. So are people going to do that in 5 years? Is it going to be strong enough?
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead. We'll move on a little bit. There's a few good comments that I kind of want to put in here. Kevin Snow said, I'm still waiting for their 80-year rye.
That'd be good.
Yeah. And then Catch 22 comes again, man. He's on fire tonight. He said their new marketing campaign should be "Our bourbon is ready when it's ready." So,
well said.
Yeah, well said. So I'm going to skip one and kind of move to the next one. Is the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board? This is a state-run institution that really you can only get allocated bourbon in Pennsylvania through their online website. And it's the only way that you can get basically anything is through, since it's all government ran. And they do an online lottery now for a lot of their allocated bourbons. And in their last one, I guess they had some random Booker's Rye still sitting around. And they priced their Booker's Rye at their online lottery in a state-controlled, government-ran liquor system at $600, which is right in line with secondary. And when they asked about it, it was actually published on the forums that somebody responded back that they are looking at secondary prices and pricing them accordingly. I found it amazing. Brian, I kind of look at you and say, is this legal?
Yeah, it's legal. And I think Denny Potter was on the record this week saying that Heaven Hill looks at secondary prices in looking at it. We all know Willett has started to look at secondary prices. And when the producer comes out with a suggested retail price, that's really all it is a suggestion. It's what they want you to sell it for. And it's not, I mean, people use the word gouging, and I've used the word gouging, but legally, from a legal standpoint, you can't gouge on bourbon prices. The gouging really only applies if you're if you jack up the price of gas during a hurricane when Blake's leaving Florida. You can't charge more for
Blake
gas.
would never leave Florida.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
bunkering
price
down.
gouging. You can't price gouge on bourbon. You can't price gouge on Final Four tickets or
You're
Super Bowl
price
tickets.
gouging a Ferrari, like
It's something that people don't need, so you can charge whatever the market bears. And Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board is just being a market participant here. It's unfortunate. And when I go to a store that I see an Elijah Craig barrel proof going for $300, I'm not going to go back to that store. I'm going to go to where I can get it at its suggested retail price or right about there. So if consumers cannot buy it, then, let's not do that, and the prices will come down, but they'll go as high as people will accept. And I'm sure they sold out of their remaining Booker's Rye at $600 in a flash.
So I guess there's a problem with that though, right? Is we have the ability to sit there and say, I'll go to another store. For residents of Pennsylvania, it's their entire state. It's their entire state. And so it's kind of confusing to me that this is sort of how it's run. I always thought it was good to kind of be in some of these control states because they usually follow MSRP. Yeah. And this is the first instance that we've seen somebody actually come out and say that they are pricing it according to secondary market prices.
Yeah, and I actually, I applaud the economist / free market in me kind of applauds these people who say, hey, if we can get more, we can get more. I think it's stupid if you overprice it because it's just sitting on a shelf. So, you could sell it a whole lot faster, buy more inventory, sell that, buy more inventory. So if they don't do that, but if you can get $300 for a bottle or $600 for it, that's what the market's dictating. You kind of got to balance that out with customer loyalty and everything else. My problem with it was Pennsylvania, as far as I can remember, is the only state that has actually prosecuted somebody selling Pappy on Craigslist.
Yep.
And that part to me was just like the most hypocritical thing ever. Like, how are you going to say, hey, here's the terms, here's the market we are trying to adhere to, but if you participate in that market, we're going to arrest you. And that was just stupid to me. And they even said, try to put in there, well, basically we're trying to make as much money for the government as possible because it funds all these other things. That was kind of the lotto reasoning here in Florida, a decade or so ago. Well, the lottery system funds school programs, so that's why we're okay with it, even though we're against gambling, but lottery's okay. So that whole hypocritical standpoint on the secondary was the biggest thing for me.
And it's a lottery too, so it's not they're going secondary pricing and they're saying put your name into the hat to be able to buy it for that price, which Pennsylvania too, they have laws like you can't bring any liquor in. You can't bring anything into Pennsylvania. If you get caught with it and it's come in from outside, you can get whatever the repercussion of that is. They confiscated, you're fined, arrested, whatever. Right. So here's a state that really controls its liquor very, very strongly and says that it's for the good of the people, that they're in control of all this. And then here they are, which, how much are they going to make? What do they have? 20 bottles, 30 bottles? I don't know what the bottle count is, but is that really that big of a deal to them as far as money? You got to put in for a lottery. At least give it to the people for a reasonably fair price or close to MSRP. This could actually be the start of them shooting themselves in the foot. The whole idea is, hey, we're still bringing it to the people. We're doing these fair lotteries. They're able to get it for MSRP. Well, now suddenly it's, well, hey, we're charging as high a price as the guy in New York City, who has the market for it and, is actually a participant in a free market. And here we are, the state, we have full control over everything everybody drinks, or at least we want to, and we're going to charge that high price. And you have to be in a lottery for it. Lou Bryson might have something to say about that. I know he's not a fan of the board there.
This just confirms without getting too political, but that you can't look to the government to do anything because they talk out of both sides of their mouth. And it's like, here you go. Here's another example why we shouldn't have the government run everything for us. But anyways, I digress.
Well, maybe with their extra money, that at least maybe the cost of stamps will quit going up. Like, I don't know.
Exactly. It's like you have to pay your tax bill, but we can't pay our bills. So, okay, fair.
Lentz, you got anything else to add to this?
No, I guess the only thing that I would find interesting is what were the restaurants and bars paying in Pennsylvania for the Booker's Rye? Like, were they paying MSRP and they were getting a cut? They were, upcharging and stuff like that. Is it just really the cost? It's, the slaughter the cattle and, get the money, but the bars and the restaurants and the state were getting all the money.
Yeah, I think somebody else brought up a good point, is that even if you buy them through Pennsylvania's Liquor Control Board, I think you still have to pay tax on it too, plus shipping, right? So, Jesus, like it's almost more of an incentive to actually go and do it illegally than it is to buy it legally from them.
Not in Pennsylvania though, because they'll get you.
Yeah, they'll look for you. That's right.
What's interesting, not to change the topic, but you mentioned shipping. So they'll ship right inside Pennsylvania. You can get it shipped from their store, wherever, right? And so UPS, there's a special exception where they signed off on it and said, yes, you're allowed to ship inside this state, right? So it's a good case study of, it's really not, UPS or FedEx that's got the issue. It's ultimately looking for the states to say, yes, go ahead. And so Pennsylvania says, yes, we're going to go ahead and allow shipping as long as it's from us to you inside this state. Anyone else? Not allowed. You're not allowed to buy it from outside this state. You're not allowed to bring it in, right? So they've got full control over everything. Yeah, it's soup to nuts. I mean, it really is, and it's hard to get around it. I mean, I feel bad for people that it's their only option, right? It's not an easy thing. However, Edwin Vargas chimed in and he goes, at least Pennsylvania has a shot at it. Ohio doesn't even give retail consumers a shot. So at least you don't live in Ohio. I mean, I don't know. It's a consolation prize. I don't know what to tell you, but you can try to. Yeah,
can you
I don't know.
Still have an address in Pennsylvania?
I got credit cards and billing addresses up there. All right, so we'll kind of move on to the next topic. So Heaven Hill is releasing their new Old Fitz Bottled and Bond Decanter set. It's a beautiful bottle. It started making its way around the forums. I actually got to see a picture on Snapchat from somebody I know. So they were actually printing off the labels at one point. So I got to see that, which was pretty cool. And then actually finally putting on one of the first bottles. It is going to be priced at around $100. It is I think it's an 11-year-old wheated bourbon. So think of older Larceny, maybe. Yep. The question is, will you buy it at $100? Gun to your head. What are you going to do?
I don't think that's a question for anyone in this group. I think everyone is buying at $100.
Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're suckers.
How much it goes up to that we're still buying. I mean, that's a really cool bottle. There's a big history behind it. Obviously, it's tastes probably nothing like the bourbon that was in the original bottles that look like that, but still really cool. I feel like $100 pretty in line with today's market, especially what they're putting out with the Parker's Heritage Collection. So, I'll grab them. It's 100 proof, right?
Yes, it's a bottled and bond release.
It is bottled and bond release, yeah. So, I mean, I would
it's a beautiful decanter. It's a beautiful decanter. You can't get around it, right? I mean, it's gonna be really hard to put it on the shelf next to other things. It's gonna,
I mean, I spent $400 on the 375 of the Johnny Fitzgerald.
20 years.
The 20 years. It's pretty good bourbon, but it's not earth shattering or anything. So, but that's today's bourbon market. So we'll see.
And if I saw correctly, there's going to be upwards of. It was actually on a. If anybody wasn't paying attention, there was a Reddit AMA today with Denny Potter, and he stated I think there's upwards of 17,000 bottles in this first release. So get ready for that. I think
you can get it.
Yeah,
it'll be released twice a year from what I understand. So think about 30,000 bottles at least a year. That should be plenty to go around.
So I'll get it, no doubt, and I hope to get a couple. But isn't this the same thing as Rebel Yell 10-year, which I really like. And it was 50. I think this year they're raising it up to 60. But it's essentially the same thing. I mean, it's not, I guess it's not a single barrel, but it's 10-year wheated bourbon from Heaven Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's the same thing is out there.
Rebel Yell really missed their market with, they just put it in that little box. They should have done something fancier.
Yeah, a little fake cardboard box. I mean, I think what we'll see next year is Rebel Yell 10-year at $100.
I like Rebel Yell. I like Rebel Yell at that price. I like to see something value like that kind of snuck in under the radar a little bit. And, I think they were going to get their name out there and, what they want to get people behind them. They could have priced that at $99 and so it would have been good, but you could have been hearing crickets like, what's Rebel Yell doing? Who are these guys? But I think they came out right. Now I see that name and they earn a lot of respect from me from doing that. So now I'm going to pay attention to them.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to have a really nice glass cork, which will value it at, $60 at least.
Well, and there's the tax strip on there. So that's like the throwback of the Dusties, man. I mean, come on.
Anything with a tag strip automatically jumps $50.
Or if you put wax on it, a wax on it, or especially white.
But I got to ask you this.
Is that a hint at any current releases that you know?
I got to ask for all you guys, though. Somebody asks you, somebody asked me this a couple weeks ago. They said, I got to get a gift for somebody. He likes bourbon. What's like a really good $100 bottle that I can go buy?
This would be
I'm thinking like, where can you even buy a $100 bottle right now? I'm trying to think what's even available at retailers for $100 in my area, and there's just not a lot there. Right. So, I mean, the market is thin right there. And there's people who want to spend that much money just because they, whether they're gifting it or they just want to feel like they're getting something more premium. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that's the entire reason why we have the Orphan Barrel lineup is because people go to the store and think, I want to buy like a $100 bottle, that and Blood Oath. It's like, I want to buy a $100 bottle for a friend or a gift or something. It's like, well, these are cool packaging and it's $100, so it must be good. So
it's got a killer story.
It's got a picture of a fox and a deer on it that are fighting. We got to have that, right? Yeah.
The bottle just looks good. So it's like, looks good. Cost more than $100. Yep.
So it's got to be good.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean,
expense account.
Yeah. But I mean, do you guys really think that this is one of those bottles that'll be? Let's think about it. So Orphan Barrels, they had their time in the sun for a solid year, where they kind of flew off the shelves, and then now you can kind of see them everywhere. Like nobody's jumping on that train anymore. They've kind of I don't know if they've rubbed people the wrong way or anything like that, but you don't see a lot of people just going out trying to buy a bunch of Orphan Barrels. Do you think this could see the same exact fate where, yeah, sure, the first release, maybe the second release, it'll fly off the shelves. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to keep doing this as a regular thing, like it's going to continually be a shelf bottle.
I think
they might want it to be a shelf bottle. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh, no, I think it'll be different because the Old Fitz name is like, I don't know, it just resonates with people. And the package is like timeless. I don't know. Whereas the Orphan Barrels are kind of like newer. I don't know. I think it'll do better than the Orphan Barrels. And it's Heaven Hill. It's not some random Tuscaloosa or wherever Tuluma place that these random barrels show up.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa.
It's all stories and marketing.
Yeah.
Savings down there bottling bourbon.
That's right.
Can I actually ask a question that I have for the group, and I'm guessing some of the viewers have? So
no, this is my show. Get away. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, Heaven Hill, right? They have this wheated bourbon. They have Old Fitz. They have Rebel Yell. That's then, the brand's owned by Luxco. And then they have, that's it. Yeah. So, Larceny. So is it all the same mash bill and all aged in the same warehouses within Heaven Hill and just distributed and branded differently? Or does Luxco move the Rebel Yell stuff to a different, rick house anywhere? Is it just all the same and just aged at, regular Old Fitz is more like 4 years, and Larceny's more like 5 years.
Larceny's like 6 to 8. Old Fitz is like 4 years. And then Rebel Yell is, yes, aged at Heaven Hill and bottled in St. Louis currently. But now Luxco will be opening here soon and starting to make their own. But yeah.
So it's just aged. It's all aged in the same area. There's just different brands and aged in different times.
Exactly. It's kind of like Elijah. So you have Evan Williams, Elijah Craig, and Henry McKenna are all the same mash bill, but different ages and proofs. So, and different brands.
Do they have dedicated warehouses? You know how like Buffalo Trace has whatever it is, warehouse H specifically for Blanton's. Do they do that for any of their brands, or is it kind of all over the place?
It's for Heaven Hill.
Yeah,
it's all over the place. I mean, you can get an Elijah Craig that's in Deatsville, or you can get one that was aged in Bardstown.
Do they do their weeded mash bill all over, or do they keep that weeded?
I don't know about the weeded.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I guess we should have asked that
to Denny when we need him.
Yeah, I should have asked that to Denny on Reddit
on
earlier.
Reddit.
Yeah. So I guess another question is, there's a pretty much a staple here in Kentucky. We talk about the Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond 6 year. That's always that white label.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's always one that's kind of right next to it, and that's just the Old Fitz. There's the Old Fitz one that's just a regular label. They've got some squat bottles laying around. They've got some cognac style bottles that are around. You got the green label. You got the red label. You think this is going to have any effect on those? Because this is, don't get me wrong, this is what they consider like lower tier. That's always in the sort of bottom shelf because it's a $16, $18 bottle, if that. Like, what do you think is the detriment, or like, what do you think could possibly happen to that if it's going to suffer some sort of brand shaming, or are people still going to stay loyal to it? Who knows?
I think there's a good possibility it's going to lift the brand. If you're seeing something that looks similar, it's got a similar name, similar look, to some extent you can relate the two for $100 on the shelf. It looks premium. It's a fantastic bottle. You might start to take notice of those lower tier ones and say, maybe I'll give that a shot.
They're going to be like Pappy and Weller's, kind of like that.
Yeah, think about Weller. Look at the three Wellers. Weller Special Reserve gets just siphoned right up with the other two. We've talked about that a bunch of times, and I think it's very possible, not in the exact same situation, but I think it could lift it or at least get it on people's radar.
Yeah, and it's really the lesson from Rebel Yell. Which we already talked about, I know, but Rebel Yell was as bottom shelf as you could get. And then they tried about 4 years ago Rebel Reserve, which was supposed to be 6 years, and it was still horrible. Bad stuff. And now with the 10 year, they've really lifted the entire brand, and they're trying new and edgy things with their lower shelf brands. And all of Rebel Yell is up now. Sales are up because of the 10 year, and you're associating the lower shelf brands with the great 10 year.
Yeah. I'm just surprised it's taken them this long to like capitalize on that name. Like, you bought this brand, from Stitzel Weller and did nothing with it essentially, except change the name to Larceny and try to make it your own, which Larceny's done well, but it's surprising. I guess they finally realized that Stitzel Weller is so huge on this, from the secondary market that, hey, now we can capitalize on it. So
I don't know about that. I think it's a two-way street, right? Because when you look at we are the I'd say 5%ers of the bourbon market, right? Like, we know the history of Old Fitz, like we know what it means to the bourbon realm, the bourbon community, and kind of like what the history of Stitzel Weller, like their target market in Larceny is the other 95% of people, right? Like that is mainstream. That is everyday consumers. They don't care about history. They just want a delicious bourbon to drink. And so I don't necessarily think that. And not only that, is when you look at the packaging, you look at the name, you have to think of it is a marketing thing at the end of the day. You get somebody that's just now turning like 23 years old. You want them to go like get into bourbon and like think about they want to like it. And you're like, here, try this bottle of Old Fitz. They're like, what the hell is, like, my grandpa would drink that, right? And then he's like, here's this bottle of Larceny. It's got a sweet key on the front of it. You're like, yeah, I can get on top of that one, right? So I don't know. I mean, any other thoughts, within the Old Fitz and the sweet packaging before we move on to the next topic? Whiskey Wonka said, because we said that to be about 17,000 bottles. We said it might be pretty easy to find. He said, well, there was apparently 30,000 stags, and I still couldn't find one. So
very true.
Yeah, they did a good job hiding those.
I'm still not. I mean, that should be a topic at one point. Looking at, like, I had 3 or 4 state allocations that I was looking at, maybe more than that. 30,000 bottles did not come out. I don't know where they went, but I don't know. That's a little more conspiracy theory, but I still don't think there were 30.
I think the liquor stores did a good job keeping
them in Pennsylvania
shelves, going through their
I think
lists.
you got like 120 bottles,
they did.
Unless they were just lying and they're holding on to a bunch of them too. But
yeah, I like Ryan. Pennsylvania's holding on to them to see whether the secondary market's going to level off and they get rid of them.
Yeah, that's just in $600 in the Pennsylvania lottery.
Oh man. All right, so we're going to move on to another subject, and we got him on the chat. This is a good subject by Wade Woodard, and it's something that is becoming a new norm. And this is the $100 NDP, and most of these NDPs are from MGP. I think 2 years ago we used to scuff at the prices that are coming out, thinking that how could you possibly sell an NDP bourbon for $100? And think that we're going to be okay with it, or people are going to buy it. But now you got things like Mic Drop that are coming out. You've got things like Old Carter that are coming out, which I actually have right behind me. So I pulled a tater move and bought one. I'll explain why in a little bit. But you got to keep this in perspective that a bottle of Stag is $89. So do you guys really think that $100 NDP MGPs are the new norm now?
I think it's fine. Because they're like 12-year bourbons, and it's hard to find 12-year good bourbons. And so I don't know. I think at $100, at least you can. I don't know. I think it's a good value, or not value, but you know what I'm saying. Like or 12 you can't get, so you can find these MGPs that are good. I don't know. I think it's not a bad thing.
But I mean, you're talking $100, right? $100 for a bottle, and that's what was considered super premium category. I think it still possibly is when you look at the sales, because the average bottles of bourbon are somewhere between like $20 and $40, right? And so when you see all these that are coming out that are just $100 and they're all sourced from the same stuff, it's just a new label. I mean, is this just a way to kind of just trick consumers? Or is this a way to sit there and try to make a few extra bucks because now you can buy a few barrels and throw it at the market?
I think it's a mix. I think people are going to get what they pay for. So, as these new bottles come out, people are paying for them. There's going to be more of them that come out. So ultimately it's on the consumer because people are buying them. If they sat on shelves, there wouldn't be a new brand every other month that is coming out with, sourced MGP products. So, and it just kind of, people always want to try something new, even though it's coming from the exact same distillery. A lot of times in the same age range, it's something new and different, and usually has a little bit of a taste if you can kind of trust the person that's blending them. So I think it's just all about being new and kind of staying ahead of the customer a little bit.
I think it kind of depends what you're buying and, who put that together. We were just talking about the Old Fitz, $110. That's coming right from a, well-known distillery. Look, MGP is a well-known distillery. So the stuff coming out of there is coming from a good distillery, just like Heaven Hill is a good distillery. So then you say, okay, well, is it somebody's release that's $50 a bottle or $100 a bottle? Well, what are they doing? What are they putting in that $100 bottle? Are you buying the revitalization of a brand and, packaging and that kind of thing? Or are you buying, something that somebody really carefully went through and selected barrels and, maybe blended, and spent some extra time putting something together that's better. And I think that's where it gets tricky, and that's where it gets tough. And $100 a bottle is, you can't just buy them all. So I think that's where people look to see what other people are thinking. That's why they're looking to reviews and other people's thoughts on social media and things like that to figure out if they're worthwhile going after or not. And there's some good ones and there's some bad ones.
Lentz, you've been quiet over there. I'm waiting for you to chime in.
Yeah, so I was the one actually over in the summer that purchased the mic drop, which is MGP 8-year cast strength. I know it got a lot of hype and people loved it. Personally, it wasn't for me. Kind of a lesson learned that, maybe these blends of MGPs really aren't for me. However, I do think that when you get to the MGP and you get to these single barrel cast strength selections, kind of like going back in the day when Smooth Ambler had the old Scout picks, like there's places that are doing 10, 11, 12, even 13-year-old MGP single barrel cast strengths. And I think that's where the value really is trying to find a good barrel, a really tasty barrel, where you're getting your bang for your buck. That's where I focus my as a consumer.
Yeah, I'm right with Ryan. The two Ryans think alike. I'm right there with him.
So as Rob McCarthy says, it could be a thing of FOMO. It also is a thing that somebody else had mentioned on here, that maybe we're just all suckers for marketing, or maybe we're suckers for hype. So I'll kind of put it at somebody else. Like, do you think that we have, like, basically somebody's going to post it somewhere and be like, oh, this stuff's awesome, and the first thing in thought in mind is, well, I don't have that bottle, I think I need to go get it, right? Like, what's your thought process behind that?
I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, we're
definitely going to see that. I mean, it's just the state of where we are now, right? You want to get it before everyone else grabs it, and you can't. But I think then again it gets back to trying to figure out what you're actually buying and if it's really going to be that good or not. And how much cash do you have to spend on $100 bottles?
That's been happening to me since I was 8 years old, when somebody had the Reebok pumps and I didn't have them. You're like, I
thought you're going to say with bourbon.
Yeah, I got the Reebok BMXs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a FOMO moment for a lot of people, and it's really because the market's still growing. I mean, we're still getting people into the bourbon market, and they're having this oh shit moment of, I got to get that.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, I've got a room full of bourbon, and I didn't buy Mic Drop, and I'm not looking at these other ones, and I'm not worried about missing out on a MGP. And until more people are not worried about it, 100 is the new norm. I mean, the old $25 bottle of Weller 12, that's the old 25 is now 50, and the old 50 is now 100, and now we're not thinking twice about paying $300 for a Willet, and we're talking about all these prices going up, and it's really the new norm until the market starts leveling off.
Brandon Griffiths kind of had a good point. He said, look at the old Smooth Ambler, old Scout bottles. And so you look at this as saying, well, what's possibly that next SAOS release, right? So is it Mic Drop? Is it, Boone County? Is it OKI? Is it any of these things? For sure. Nobody really knows at this point, right?
So you want to get it. You want to get it in case you land on it.
Right.
I mean, that Boone County that you brought over, Kenny, was like one of the best things I had in a while. That was really good. I mean, a 12-year MGP. It was fantastic. I'd pay $100 for that all day.
Yeah. And then Robert Daly had something else to say. He said, watch MGP be like the new Stitzel Weller. All these up-and-coming distilleries that are actually using them are going to have to switch over to their own distillate at some point, and their MGP bottlings are going to be becoming possibly more valuable, right? So who knows what that progress is going to be like, you look 5 to 10 years down the road.
For sure.
Yeah, if all Smooth Amblers taste like contradiction, I mean, we're all going to be paying $500 for the old Scouts.
I'm glad that you said it, because I was never a fan of contradiction either.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It wasn't there for me.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So I guess kind of like to kind of cap this sort of topic off, when you look at it, is it more or less curiosity when you're looking at these different MGPs that are at $100? Or, I mean, do you really think that any of them are even worth over 50? And do you think that you have to like really vet it out first before you do it? Or do you think this is somebody that's, as I said, just slapping a label on it, trying to take advantage of the market? Whereas there are some other MGPs out there that aren't at $100, and maybe you can get them close around the $50 range.
I would answer that question with a question, which is, are the majority of people buying those, do they know they're basically coming from the same place? You know, who's that market?
I think we've always brought it on the show before, is that you've got to be conscious of the label and be able to read it and know exactly where it's coming from. However, most people don't really care. They see a sweet label, they understand some story, and maybe that's just what they buy. I don't know.
Yeah, and what percentage of the market is looking at the label and understanding what they're buying? You know, is that 5%? Is that 40%? You know, where does that fall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of going back to the single barrel about these MGPs, I really think when you look at the market, where else are you going to get a single barrel cast strength bourbon? Knob Creek, maybe some recipes of Four Roses, but outside of that, if you're looking for that range of 12 plus years, single barrel cast strength, you're going to get an MGP from one of these, you know, distilleries are starting the brands that are building themselves up. So I think that's where, you know, if you're looking to expand and get into these MGPs, I think that's really where the value and the bang for your buck is.
And Ryan,
we're on the same wavelength. I'm thinking the same thing, my man.
Well, then I'll say this to both Ryans. Then I mean, we're what, 3 years away from the production from years ago catching up, and we're going to start having 10-year-old bourbons here pretty soon and 12-year-old bourbons pretty soon. And are we going to need MGPs?
There you go.
That's the devil's advocate there.
Yeah.
You probably not, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah. So, but get it now. But the lesson is drink it now. I mean, don't hang on to it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, so let's move on to the last topic. We got just a few more minutes left, and this one was one of, I don't know, I found it, maybe it's just me just griping. I actually had somebody that sent me a contact and said that I've turned into a bit of a snob when I do these roundtables, and may's
Agreed.
That's
sorry, guys.
Not just on the roundtables.
It's in everyday life. But, you know, I see, and it actually was all kind of stemmed from the whole Blanton's argument last time, because I didn't understand why people chase it or why they care about it. And now it was Blanton's 3 weeks ago. And then this week, I want to bring up a new one that I don't understand why people are chasing after it. And it's, I don't know, Wathens or Wathens, whatever you say. I'm going to say Wathens, but Wathen's barrel proof. It seems that like people are just going. You say Wathens? Is that what you say?
I say Wathens.
Oh, it's Wathens. It's Wathens.
Really?
Yeah,
this is like BTAC and BTAC.
Yeah, I've met a guy who's an artist, and he's like a third generation non-distiller, and he pronounces it Wathen. So I go with Wathen.
Wow,
there you go.
My world is different now.
All right, so now we can all agree on that. Thanks for being the authority there, Brian.
Always.
So, I guess I kind of want to look at you all, because honestly, like, Wathens has been around for a long time. They've had their standard shelf items that have always been there. It's been okay. It's never been something I've always wanted to go grab. It's a little bit higher on the price, even for their regular stuff. When you want to look at everyday shelf items, such as it could be Larceny, it could be Knob Creek, it could be all these different things. But then all of a sudden you see Wathen's barrel proof come out, and then automatically people go crazy. Is it because it's barrel proof, or is it because it's a single barrel store pick? And is that the reason why people are doing this? So I kind of want to get your all's opinions.
I think it's the store pick angle. I mean, these store picks are just taking on like mystiques of them, which I agree. Store picks are the way to go for true unicorns, but it's like crazy. Like that Weller antique store picks are like, $80, $90, $100 just because they're store picks. And the same thing for these Wathens, whatever, Medley Brothers, barrel proof. Yeah, I think it's just the store picks. People just think they're unique and go crazy over them.
Well, I actually think that it's a good segue from the MGP. This is an MGP. This is contract distilled for Wathen. So
From
this is a little
Barton's,
bit
right?
different of a
Or
mash bill. What's that?
does Barton's make theirs, or am I off?
There's all sorts of theories. I think there's people are saying it could be Heaven Hill, it could be Buffalo Trace. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's the kind of appeal is you're getting a different mash bill. At least from my perspective, and Wathen's is that you're not getting that MGP. I think they kind of have a lower rye mash bill to theirs, so that's the kind of appeal from my perspective. It's a little bit different than the other store selections and MGPs and stuff like that you would get.
I think Kevin Brinkeroff nailed it in 3 words: barrel proof sells. On the chat. I mean, it's barrel proof. It's how you want it. You know, a different barrel proof. We all want to try it. I think it's that simple.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the barrel proof sells. I actually got an email about this. Somebody saying it was going to be discontinued completely. So, you know, mix in scarcity. No. Somebody, I don't, it wasn't confirmed. He was asking if I knew. But, you know,
was that lens breaking?
Into, barrel proof. And it's pretty well priced too. And I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't tasted it recently, but from what I remember, it was pretty good. So, you know, I think you can hit a good combo, and then you just get, you know, a really popular podcast like Bourbon Pursuit talking about it, and then all of a sudden the stuff blows up. So, brands, if you want to sponsor the show, feel free.
I mean, what's the difference between Michter's and Wathen's? Really, they're both contract distilled, right?
Mm-hmm.
One Michter's maybe came in a cooler bottle and they got that wax in some of their special bottles, you know, special.
Well, that's, you know, and I mean, I know Willett's now distilling a lot of their own, but it's still at 4 years. But buying Johnny Drum or Kentucky whatever and all that stuff, it's kind of like you're trusting the person who is doing the blending ultimately, I guess. So if they put out some good product, you say, that's.
And you got to remember, they're still getting that from good distilleries too. You know, whether it's Heaven Hill or Buffalo Trace or wherever it is, it's still a good distillery.
So I'm going to take a cue from Ryan. I'm going to ask a question to the panel as well now, since we can do that. I didn't realize that was
Wait, I didn't know we could do that.
Only new people can do that. This is a community roundtable.
Kenny's not going to allow that shit.
Would you prefer somebody to buy a MGP NDP product at $100, say 10-year barrel proof MGP, or somebody like a Wathen's and or you know, a Michter's that's more around the $50 range, or even, you know, say a Bullet barrel proof? Is that a better buy, even though it's a little bit younger? And you know, are you leaning more towards that brand?
I would think, at least for me, well, first off, the jury is still out on whether it's Wathen's or Wathen's.
I kind of enjoy saying Wathen's now. So
this is like, the chat is just blowing up of people like saying like WAY thins. Like, this is how it, then, you know, it's
weathers.
Yeah, it's all over the place. So for me, when I think about that question, it's more like where is my head going to be at in regards of availability, scarcity, and you know, really sometimes taste might be third, because when I look at barrel proof Bullet, yeah, sure, it's great, but it's always available, so I'm not chasing after it. If I ever need it, I can just go get it. When you think of the I'm going to go ahead and flip on the other side now. When you think of the Wathens, you think of okay, it's a store pick and it's barrel proof and it's something that I've never had before, so the intrigue is there. However, you know, the stuff around here in Kentucky, you can't freaking keep anything on the shelf, so it's gone already. So I probably would have leaned more towards the Wathens over Bullet barrel proof at that point, even if it is you know, rumored to be 4 roses from Bullet, but you know, that's still never, that's us continuing rumors. But
in a perfect world, everything's the same availability, but the reality is when something has different availability, you look at it differently. because you might not be able to buy it in a week. And that gets back to everything we're talking about. If you think it's the scarcity sells. I mean, that's a huge marketing play. You can't avoid it. I mean, it's like anything. If you don't think it's going to be on the shelf in a week, you got to make the decision right there. What do you do?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to take Blake's question before we kind of round it out?
Buy it.
Buy it.
Buy them both.
Buy it. I guess send me a sample, see what I missed out on, because I'm open to trying anything. Got a few. I got a sample of mic drop in the basement. I got to go try. So perhaps I'll do that Facebook Live on Friday. We'll see what happens. But I do want to finish it up. There was actually one great question that was in the chat, and it was one of Blake's articles that he put out recently. And how about one more additional topic to finish this off, since we're all drinking, we're all having a good time. Blake hates single barrel bourbons. Go ahead, Blake. Why? And let's see if we agree, because I already disagree.
So I hate to paint with such a broad brush, but yeah, I've just had a lot of bad purchases recently with these single barrels. It started with, I won't name too many names, but I think I already put this out there on this year's Parker's Heritage Collection. I had tasted a bottle, really thought it was excellent. Bought another bottle, mediocre at best. It wasn't better than Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Had something similar happen with, I think it was a Dusty Henry McKenna. So single barrel has been a problem for a long time. It's really hard to get a lot of really good, consistent single barrels. Even when we're in Kentucky, talking with Brent Elliott and, the single barrel limited edition from Four Roses, it's just tough to get that many barrels in the similar age that are all of similar quality. And not to say that, if it's a single barrel, it can be great. I would agree with that. There's no denying that, especially some of these store picks and that kind of thing. But overall, blending barrels together, letting that be a little more of an art form of blending different barrels together to get a different flavor profile. And the sum being, what is it? The parts being better, or no, the sum being better than the parts. I think that's really where it lies for me. And there's a lot less risk, and I know what I'm getting. So yeah, that was the point of that.
I hate single barrels when they're like part of reviews, like in competitions, because you're like, okay, yeah, that single barrel was fantastic, but you have, all these other of that particular brand, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not right.
I know Wade harps on this a lot, Wade Woodard, about these competitions where, it's a single barrel. Brands just pick a honey barrel, send that, and that's not even close to what's actually hitting the shelves. It's hard to really prove that because none of us are sitting at those tables, but it happens because those competitions, they mean something, and those stickers mean something when people are going to purchase.
You might not be able to prove that, but you can't disprove it either.
True.
And it would make sense that why wouldn't you send one of the best ones that you've at least tasted, right? Because they don't.
I don't know, Blake.
Necessarily.
Blake, you might want to send some of that barrel number 4 over to the San Francisco.
Oh, it's going
championship.
I'm scratching out Buffalo Trace and I'm putting Bourbon or Roundtable.
You're holding a couple of those bottles for me, right, Blake?
Oh yeah, you got it.
I watched the video. It was said in there. That's a contract, right? That's Brian. That's a contract, right?
It's a contract.
It's a contract.
Then you guys can put a tag on it that says double gold.
Yeah. Right. The double gold is coming. I think we're to like triple platinum gold is the new.
Oh yeah, we'll have
platinum gold.
It'll be the platinum release, that's for sure. Yeah, and so I guess we'll round it out. So there was a good little hint right there to kind of wrap it. There was the Neat movie release, but there's also going to be the Bourbon Community Roundtable movie release that'll be happening here this weekend or next week as well.
I'll be waiting for my royalty check.
Yeah. So there actually will be a video coming out that kind of featured all of us during the barrel pick, so it should be pretty fun. So look for that. Fellas, I want to say thank you again for joining tonight. Let's go around the horn one more time and let you talk about where you're blogging at, where people can find you at, and if you killed a bottle of bourbon while we were drinking tonight, what were you drinking as well? So, Lince, you started off. Let's have you finish it out right here.
All right, quickly, the bourbonbuddy.com. I'm also on Instagram. I'll try to get this right this time, at bourbon_buddy. And then also, I'm not sure I gave the address of the Cleveland Bourbon Club. It's the clevelandbourbon.club.com, where you can see our blind reviews of different stuff. And I was drinking, actually, it's a good segue, OKI 10-year single barrel pick by the Cleveland Bourbon Club.
Oh.
MGP.
Yeah.
My man.
All right, Brian, you go, since we're gonna go in the same order we went when we first started it.
All right, good deal. Brian with Sippin' Corn. Check me out mostly on Twitter at Sippin' Corn and the Google blog spot at Sippin' Corn. And check out, again, I got to say it again, the book coming out in November 2018, Bourbon Justice. And I'm going tonight with the all-time worst label in all of bourbon history, the single barrel small batch. Which is it?
No, neither of them mean anything.
Neither of them mean anything. But what means something, if it can be seen, is this is a hard water pick from 2014 that I participated in. And there's that much left, and it'll be gone tonight. And it's just to maybe to Blake's point and to the bourbon community roundtable point of doing these single barrel selections. I mean, it's a fantastic experience. If you ever get the opportunity to do it. And everyone ought to be looking forward to the two picks that we did with Bourboner and in the bourbon community roundtable. Great picks. Everyone look forward to it. Thanks again for having me.
I don't know. Barrel 4 kind of sucked.
I loved it.
Just kidding.
Take will prove otherwise.
All right, Blake.
All right, I'm Blake from Bourboner. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. If you want to check me out, you can find me at bourboner.com. That's BOURBONR. Also, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all your favorite social medias. Tonight, I was trying to look up. I actually finished off this bottle I didn't realize I had for a while. It was Abraham Bowman, however you say that one.
I'm going to go with Bowman. Yeah.
I'm going with Bowman.
Wathens.
I like Bowman.
It was the Merlot finish, which is actually pretty good. I found it in the back of the cabinet and finished that off tonight. So it was pretty good.
Sure, it wasn't Merlot. Merlot.
Sounds like a
Merlot.
It's actually Boo Man.
Welcome to the South. Yeah.
That sounds like it go well with Bourboner Eats. You know, that'd be
Bourboner Eats is coming. I'm forgetting all this drinking stuff. I'm just gonna cook for a living.
All right.
All right, I'm Nick from Breaking Bourbon. Check us out on breakingbourbon.com and Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Breaking Bourbon. And tonight I'm actually drinking two different things. I don't know why Blanton's was on my mind for some reason today, but I got a regular Blanton's single barrel and I got a straight from the barrel. Right, so I haven't had this in a while. I haven't looked at the actual label, but this was dumped on 10/5/2013. So I'm trying to think of when I actually bought this, and I think I bought it in 2015. It's telling me this was on the shelf for some period of time before I bought it, way back when, which I kind of find interesting. And it's the last bottle of Blanton's I bought, so I haven't bought one since this bottle, and I've had it for a while. But I'm enjoying it. Of course, next to straight from the barrel, this is absolutely fantastic. You know, great stuff. I bought a couple bottles recently and haven't shot for that for a while. But I think, like we mentioned on the last podcast, if you're looking for something great and getting frustrated with the limited release situation, just watch for those Blanton's straight from the barrels. They become available. They're available for a very short time, but when they're out there, they're kind of out there, and you got a chance at it. So,
Yep. And I guess you kind of hinted on it's like It's the new Dusty. All the Dusties are gone. So I guess if you find a bottle that's like a year and a half old on the shelf, you're like, it's a Dusty. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, you could tell.
So guys, I want to say thank you again for coming on. For me, I was drinking had 3 different ones tonight. So I was drinking a Bourbon's Bistro, 125 proof 4 Roses. I had a Russell's Reserve pick by Bourbon Cartel. And then I kind of capped it off in anticipation for this week's anticipated release on Saturday, which is the new Old Baldy release that'll be coming from Cork and Bottle up in Northern Kentucky. It's going to have white wax on it, so everybody's going to go crazy. So I want to say,
dang, Kenny's firing bourbon over there.
Kenny, tell us about that bottle in the back there. You were going to.
Oh yeah. So we talked about being. I broke every rule in Wade's book, and I tatered it up pretty hard today. So I saw this, and I was like, I don't want it. Like, I don't want this bottle. And then, this is the Old Carter Rye. This is coming from some of the people that were co-owners of Kentucky Al that then came out and started pushing their own brand. This is batch 1, 112.2 proof. So I'm assuming that it is barrel proof. Again, it's a rye, bottled in Bardstown. On the back, it says distilled in Indiana. And the price was, I think, like $160. And it is non-age stated. So there is tater in a bottle, if you could ever imagine. I'm actually going to do a live review of this on Facebook probably on Friday and just try to push it next to some other ones and see if it really holds up. I really hope it doesn't, only because of the price and being non-age stated. But I bought it because I said, screw it. I don't like my money, so let's get another bottle.
Or did you buy like 12 of them and you're going to be like, oh, this surprisingly won the blind taste test?
No, I just figured I'd buy it and we'll just see what happens. I don't have high expectations. I sat there looking at it for like 2 minutes and I was like, I don't need this. This is dumb. Like, why would I even buy this? And I was like, ah, damn it, fine. Just give it to me.
Take my money.
Yeah. It's like, just the intrigue killed me. And so I just went and bought it. So I am a sucker for it. So we'll have to see how it all fares at the end of this. But,
just throw the word Stitzer-Weller in there during that live review.
Yeah.
Awesome. Everybody will buy it.
Find a way.
Because everybody loves the Stitzer-Weller Rise that came out, right? Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. So, Ryan, go ahead and close us out, buddy.
Yeah, and no one probably cares, but I was drinking.
No, we don't. Just go ahead and close us out.
I was drinking one of my new favorite things, the Little Book. I think it's fantastic. Some people think it's great. Some people don't. I think it's awesome because it's a little different. And I had an Eagle Rare Silver Dollar pick, which was good. But anyways, thank you all for coming on. Ryan, we're on the same wing league. You can replace Carrie every week from now on. Appreciate everybody listening. This is the most fun we have on the podcast because I don't like being with Kenny by myself. And anyway, just kidding. I'm rambling on. Everyone have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
There we go. Awesome.
I'm glad to hear you like that too, Ryan.
Yeah, it's really good. The Little Book.
Yeah, I feel like I liked it, and people were like, Jordan and Eric weren't into it like I was. I said, man, I don't know, something about it. I'm just digging it.
I was not all that into it. I've come around a little more, but I don't know. I still don't love it. I had a question about, are we still?
Yeah, we're still live.
Yeah.
I heard that if we're still on, I haven't tried Little Book yet, but I heard that there's like a second batch of it now, and the second batch is better than the first batch. I just read that.
That's
today.
what they always say.
Yeah, I know, right?
You gotta keep selling those bottles.
Yeah.
It's
Just go buy what you see. It could be better.
rye whiskey. It's like the same blend.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I haven't heard the second batch came out yet.
I mean, this was something that I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't think I'm really kicking myself yet, at least. But, when it all came out, most of the reviews of people that said, they just said it was bad. Like, they didn't like it. And then all of a sudden you all are like, okay, well, I guess it's okay. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to make of it.
Well,
no, I think it was pretty good. It's just different. Like
It's different.
It just wasn't really
yeah,
my thing.
it's totally different. It's
Yeah.
that's maybe why I like it, because it's, you know, bourbon. I've had so many damn bourbons, and it's like it sticks out to me. But I don't know. It's just a nice little adjustment.
Question for you.
Bourbon's got a kind of narrow flavor profile, I feel like. So to get, you know, you think a bourbon drinker, you know, bourbon drinkers are often rye drinkers and might touch American whiskey, but not necessarily. I come across people that only drink bourbon a lot. You know, they don't even like rye. You know, so I mean, that's a pretty narrow profile. So when you throw out something like Little Book, that's kind of off the spectrum, but still in the realm of a bourbon drinker, what they might be after. You know, whereas like Scotch, you know, a bourbon drinker may never drink Scotch, just not interested, whatever. But they'll consider Little Book, and then it's very different. So I think there's that adjustment to it. You know, you don't expect it to be that different, and once you get spend a little time with it, I think you realize it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I read all the reviews, and you know, like people said it sucked, and then I read in Whiskey Advocate that it's like one of the bottles 10 years from now you wish you had, because people.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I have 2 of them, so
Hang on to them.
Well, I opened one, and now I have one. So
yeah, well, I don't know if you can really trust too much out of Whiskey Advocate. Who knows anymore, right? I mean, they're pushing out a lot of stuff that you're kind of like, I don't know about that.
Is it on the Old Carter? Is that a Kentucky only release?
I would not be surprised, because there's only 1,269 bottles available.
So how did that work? So did they not have a non-compete whenever they sold to Constellation?
I think they sold to Stoli. But I think it was they just bought the Kentucky Owl brand. They didn't buy this brand, and so the people
I think they would say. I mean, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but they would say, "Hey, look, you can't have a competing product." I mean, that's
I think these were this is not Deadman that's coming out.
No,
with
but it's
this is
the winemakers, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're owners, so they're buying it from them. I don't know.
It says born from the Soul of Somerset, which is complete bullshit, but I bought it.
How do you know
you are so tater. You are tater tot right there.
Ridiculous.
I'm gonna let it slide for like $100, but 160. Well, full tater.
My store was lucky enough. He was like, "I'll just give you a 10% discount since you're running a barrel. You're running a barrel.
Sold.
I'll give you a 10% discount."
Sold.
Don't you love that? Hey, you just gave me $10,000 worth of sales. I'll give you a 10% discount to save you $15.
Here's $15.
Oh, I know. But by the way, the barrel was delivered today, so I've got to go and pick most of it up tomorrow. There was actually a mix-up. So only 16 cases were delivered today. And so the store that I was doing it with, they were actually picking the barrel the day after us, and they were doing a split with a restaurant here in town, and they screwed it up. And so the bottles showed up today at the liquor store, and then the other cases were supposed to be going to the restaurant on Friday. And they were like, "Oh, no. Like those need to come back to us." So I should be picking up the rest of them on Friday, but I'm going to get the bulk of them tomorrow. So
did they pick barrel 6?
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully they do. Yeah,
Somebody did.
Guys that wanted us to go on their pick, or that wanted to show up on our pick.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know what? We'll see what happens. I'll taste it side by side. We'll see what it sounds or what it's like. But
barrel 6
what it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm third down right now. I'm fine. So.
All right, I'm gonna head out.
All right. Sounds good.
See you.
Yeah. By the way, Blake, you also kind of hinted on it. So I'm working on getting that barrel to a brewery to do a Bourbon Pursuit collaboration Imperial Stout barrel aged beer.
Oh,
nice.
I'm in for that.
Bourbon or Eats loves that.
Yeah. So we'll see if that's going to happen. I get the.
Did you say which brewery or?
We're talking to at least. I've got a buddy that knows more about brewing and everything around here, and he actually started a brewery in Florida. He's part owner in it. And he knows a few like smaller ones here. It's not going to be like against the grain or anything like that because they're just too big or mile wide. Like you got to go to somebody that's like pretty small that we can do a, what do you say? It's called like a 3-barrel run. And at the end of it, you'll end up getting around like 400 bottles of, and that's like at a pint and 3 ounces or pint and 6 ounces, something like that.
Can we do Monic?
No, I think Monic might be too big. But we're trying to work on that. It's Third Turn is who we're going to go talk to.
Okay.
And see if they're down for it. But
what's the Florida one?
It's Ivanhoe Brewery is where he's opening it up.
Down in Tampa or somewhere.
I think it's in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Ivanhoe, yeah. Ivanhoe's road in Orlando, I think.
Yeah, so he's a part owner in that. But and then not only that is so 1 barrel will be our barrel, and since there'll be more extra in the batch, I think we're gonna go buy an extra freshly dumped Heaven Hill barrel and put the rest of it in that, and then kind of have a full barrel aged beer release. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's still early stages.
To age for like a year or so.
Oh shit, no! I think it's like 3 months, something like that. Yeah,
we did one. My bourbon club, we did. It's a local place, smaller, like Kenny was saying, and it was a Knob Creek barrel that we had, and they aged it for I think 2 or 3 months, and then I don't know if you can see it, but it says Cleveland Bourbon Club on there. So it was just I don't think they got very many bottles out of it, but yeah, it's good. It was fun. Get some use out of these barrels, right?
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's I
want to turn them into tomato planters.
My rum barrel got dumped yesterday, and the guy was like, "So what are you going to do with the barrel?" I'm like, "I don't know. I may talk to a brewery or something." He's like, "People are buying these barrels from us for $500 a pop, so you probably want to talk to somebody about it."
I'll be like, "Can you just sell it for me and take 10%?" Yeah,
$400 and we'll call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'll see y'all.
Have a good night, guys.
I'm done.
Cool. See you guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey,
Ryan, go Sparty.
Appreciate it. Yeah, go green.
Now, how are you a Sparty fan?
My parents both went to Michigan State. It was kind of like, even though I grew up in Ohio, and there's a lot of Buckeye fans, man, which I can't stand. And I always grew up a Michigan State fan. Decided to go there.
Good. I grew up in Michigan, so that was where I landed.
You weren't a Michigan fan. You went to East. You were Michigan.
No,
State?
I didn't. Yeah, no, didn't go there, but was a Michigan State fan.
Wow, because I feel like anyone that doesn't go to either one of those schools, like, everyone goes towards Michigan. So good for you.
Yeah. I was Alma College.
Alma College, is that in Michigan?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Alma, Michigan.
Alma.
Right in the middle of the mitten.
Oh, the hand. Yeah, I got the hand, and then it took me like 3 weeks to figure out
like a party school.
What the hell UP meant. People were like, "Oh yeah, I live in the UP." I'm like, "Okay, it sounds good." I have no fuck.
Whatever. Yeah, you were cold.
And I was like, "Oh, it's Upper Peninsula. There's like a whole other thing going on here." All right.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Cool. See y'all later.
All right, guys.